Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build this adorable apple house, complete with its own little caterpillar. This build is surprisingly simple to create and has a lot of space as well. And since it's only 15 blocks wide, you could even use this as a chunk house. Plus, it's super customizable, so you can have any color apple you'd like. So let's get building. For this build, you'll need the materials on your screen now, and keep in mind you can switch out the red for any coloured apple you'd like. Here is the outline for today's build. You can see the crescent section for the apple itself, and then the part at the front is for the entryway. Keep in mind that this build extends out 4 blocks from each side of the apple. We're going to start by adding in a base and outline for our apple in red concrete. For the base, I'm just filling in this crescent section here, and you'll notice the front bit is left open. This is so we can build up in a diagonal like this to create a point, and this gives a classic apple shape. Now we can create the outline building up in a diagonal like this. Then we'll come up 2 high and then 5 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can start coming back in. 2 in a diagonal, 2 across, coming down across 2, and 1 more. And this block here should line up with your center block below. So we've got half of our apple outline in, and we can replicate this on the other side. You can already see the shape of the apple coming together. Now I've rotated around to the back of the build, and we're going to be adding in the floor and the first layer of the apple. So we're going to build 2 back from here, come across like this to create a diagonal, and build across the back. And then I'll just do the same thing to connect up with the other side. Now I want to place in a stair right about here. That way we'll walk in from our entryway and we can step up to our floor, which I'm also going to fill in with red concrete. You could use carpet if you would like a softer texture. From here we can start going layer by layer to build up our apple, and we'll need more red concrete and a bit of stained glass for some windows. I'm going to start by following the outline around the back here, just like this. For this next layer we're going to have some windows, one here, and one centered at the back. And make sure that's coming out one of the diagonal, as our layers are getting bigger as we go. And then coming either side of this glass, 2 here and here, and 1 to connect it, and same thing on this side. Just like that. Building up, I'm going to build 5 across the top of this glass, and then come out so it's 1 kind of diagonally out from this glass here on the 2 sides. Then I just want to build straight on top of these diagonal blocks. For the next layer, we're coming 1 out here and then building 2 on top, going 1 out and 2 on top, and we've got our 1 out and 2 on top on that side as well. And for here we'll build out 2 on top of these diagonal blocks to connect up. Here's how it should look so far. Now the next 2 layers are the same, so we'll be doing them at the same time. So we're going to build 2 up across 2 like this, another 2 up and coming out 1 more block, 2 on top of here. I'm going to add in 2 glass, come across 2 and 1 more. Then I'll come out 2 and leave room for a window. Now I'll just do the same pattern on the other side. Following a pattern like this can be a little tricky, so just take your time and build slowly. I'm going to build 3 across the top of this window here, and 1 up on each of the sides. Then I want to build 1 on top of each of these blocks, covering up the 2 diagonal windows. Next, I'm placing 2 diagonally here so you can see the sides are coming in. For our next layer, I'll place one in the center and then two in from either side like this at the back. We've got this block here as part of our outline, which is like the center block we began with. So we'll connect up with two blocks here and here. And then I just want to build across on a diagonal. We're getting really near to the top of the apple now. This next layer has our last three windows, so I've got one coming in like this, and on top of this center diagonal here and here. And you can see we're now making our way in towards the center of the apple. I'm building one either side of our window and placing one in here and here. I then want to come across two on either side of our diagonal to connect everything up. For our next layer, I'm going to build out two from each of these points. And I'll build 5 across the top of our window. You can see I'm one diagonally back. And I'll connect this up with some diagonals. Now for the very top of this apple, we just need to add in a few blocks to connect up these diagonal blocks here. And then we can fill in using diagonal 2x2 squares. Just like that, and I'll fill across the back and fill in this section like that. That should leave you with 3 blocks to fill in at a lower level here. So here's a look at how our apple is coming along. From the front, from the sides, from the back, and from the other side. Now the design of this apple is symmetrical, but if you are having trouble building it and it doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. As long as it starts small at the bottom, gets bigger towards the middle, and smaller at the top, that is what we want. Now is the perfect time to add in our floors. Now this build has 3 levels and you can remove one of the floors if you'd like higher ceilings. So the first floor is going here and I'm using spruce slabs as that gives us more headroom. You can see this is 1 block below this first set of 2 high windows. And I'm going to come to 1 before the edge of our apple as we do need to add in the front wall. For the next layer, we are going to be having these windows as our windows for this layer, so we'll need to come 1 block below, which places us here. Notice how I'm also building underneath this red concrete block, even though you won't be able to walk on it, as it is the roof of the level below. And there we have it, all of our floors are in. Now it's time to get working on the front of the apple, and for this we'll need sand, smooth sandstone, some brown stained glass, and a birch door. I'll start by placing in my birch door here, and then I want to add some sand on either side for some texture. And this sand is actually going to be placed kind of spaced out around the edge of the apple as well as around our apple seed windows. Then I can fill up 2 high with some smooth sandstone, like that. Now for the apple seed windows, we're going to place a smooth sandstone in the center, build up 3 on top of that with some sand. I'll build up 2 either side with sand. Place a smooth sandstone on top of the door and kind of mirrored on the other side here. Then build up 3 high with some more sand. And we can put in our actual windows now. So that's 2 high in this gap with the brown stained glass and 1 more on the kind of inner side of each of the windows. I then want to build up on top of these with some glass, and I'll fill in the center with some smooth sandstone, like this. I'm going to continue placing in a little bit of sand, so I've got 1 on top of this block here and this block here, and I'll then fill up to that height with some smooth sandstone. And on this side here, I'll also fill up to that height. But when I get to here, I'm going to build up 3 high with some sand. Working in little steps helps break down the tricky pattern we've got here with our sand, which isn't really a pattern at all, it's just spaced out. I'm going to build up 3 high with my sand here, and I can begin filling in the rest of this apple. And when I come to this other side, I'm going to have a 1 sandstone break with a sand on top, and then come up diagonal with 1 more sand. For the remainder of this apple, I'm just going to have 2 sand up here and fill it in. And once again, I'll have a sand here and then 2 sand up here. And that's the whole front of our apple filled in. Now we can begin adding our stalk and leaf to our apple, and for this I'm using oak wood, and that's the one that has the bark texture on all 4 sides. I'm going to build up 3 high with this and place a spruce slab on top. Then I'll use a placeholder block and build up another 2 with a slab on top, and finally 1 more with a slab on top. So it has a nice gentle curve. Next we'll add in our leaf with some green wool. I'm going to build up 2 high. Then come back on the diagonal for a little corner shape like this. I'll have another corner shape facing the opposite direction here, and coming 1 block back as well. And then I'll create a little Tetris type shape to finish off the top of the leaf. Now onto the entryway, we'll start by cladding in the floor with some spruce slabs. This is just space saving, but you can use some blocks if that's what you have on hand. I'll add some coarse dirt either side for some planters, add a stair to get up, and then I want to cover all of these faces with dark oak trapdoors, including this little one at the back. Then want to create a canopy over the top of the door, so I'll start with some dark oak fences and some fence gates coming out from this. And for the roof, I'm going to use oak stairs. I'll also need a few oak slabs. And I'll hang a lantern above the door. A few finishing touches before we move on to one of the cutest details of this build. I'm going to add some red flowers to my planters and then some moss carpet for a doormat. So what's a picture book apple like this without a picture book caterpillar? We're going to be adding one using some slime and some lime concrete, as well as 2 sea pickles at the back. And I'm going to be placing it next to this window here. I'm going to come out with a lime block and a slime block, then upwards with a lime block and a slime block, and finishing off with a lime block and the diagonal for our little caterpillar's head. Then to add the little caterpillar's antennas, I'm going to be using 2 sea pickles. Isn't he a cute little fellow? So here you can see I've decorated my apple house and I've placed it in a beautiful biome. Now I've gone with a birch biome and I've surrounded it with a few oak trees. You can see I've also created a little picnic area, which I think ties in with the storybook feel of this house, as well as with the red and white. And of course I have some cake, and of course I have an apple. In addition to that, I've added a small dock and a meandering pathway with some broken up fences leading all the way back to the house. In terms of greenery, I've kept it pretty simple, with some grass and ferns dotted about the landscape. I've also used some azalea bushes at different heights, and those are scattered around the area, and I've kept 2 red flowers only to tie into the red of the apple. Now an interesting idea you might like to try is switching out the colour of your apple like this. Oh, and now we have a lovely crisp green apple. And you can have a lot of fun playing around with colours to create perhaps a pink lady apple or a Fuji apple. I hope you enjoyed creating this house today. If you did, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. And check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me further. I'll see you in another video.